Five innocent people killed, not a sign of a human.
Murder victims show evidence of having been partially devoured by their murderers. It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder. In all cases, the killers are equal.
Good evening, everybody. Let me turn this down just a little bit. I'm blowing the doors off myself. Uh, yeah, Vault has a new mic that he's playing with and ain't got quite set yet. So, how's everybody doing tonight? Hope everybody's doing good. How you doing, Chaos?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, brother?
We got our first victim, and no, we got two victims in here. What's
Oh,
going?
nice. Already good. Good.
Yes. Me and Chaos have a little bit to show y'all tonight and talk about. Not much on the showing side, I'd say. I am going to talk about an investigation that I was told about earlier that I'm going to tomorrow. We're going to talk about it a little bit because there may be another show. But tonight we're going to talk about the Giants. And everybody hear me good? I'm not being too loud on you, am I? I can go down just a little bit. All right, man. Where do you want to start at?
Well,
Do you want to start at Kandahar Giants or?
well, yeah. I mean, we could start there. You know a lot about this situation, and you've talked to people, so, and you've done a pretty good amount of research on it. So I'd say let's just start right there.
All right. Well, as people know, the Kandahar Giants or the Kandahar Giant was something that went on over in Afghanistan. It's going on. Supposedly a American unit. Not going to specify which branch or nothing like that. They came in contact with this. The way it was described was 12 to 15 foot tall. Man, I am. Pop filter is not looking exactly very good. Uh, I think it was supposed to be between 12 and 15 foot tall. Scarlet red over shoulder length hair, carrying a pike. Because supposedly it skewered one of the soldiers, and then everybody else started firing. It took multiple rounds, supposedly. Then somebody said shoot it in the head. It took a few more rounds, and they took it down. And there was this big cover up, supposedly, and stink. Are you running, or are you running?
Who, me?
Yeah, it sounded like you're running.
No. I was just walking. This microphone is like super duper sensitive. I forget that sometimes.
Yeah, it sounded like you were like running from Lady Chaos or something.
I was actually trying to walk quietly and like slowly too.
Wait till you listen to it.
Oh man, my bad. Sorry.
Oh no, that's all right. Did you hear what I was saying?
Well, yeah. I mean, you kind of gave the basic overview of that, and it's quite the story once you kind of get into the meat and potatoes of it.
Yeah,
It is definitely.
There's been a bunch of different programs, a bunch of different shows, a bunch of different YouTube channels that have especially talked about the Kandahar Giants. Another set, I don't know if you come across this in your research, in the Four Corners area, there was a guy doing some excavation and work on his land, and he actually dug up. He thought it was just a hill. Everybody else did. It came to find out it was actually a burial mound. He dug up this. They were ancient bones, or really, really old bones, however you want to say it, of a very, very, very tall Indian with two smaller female Indians' body Now these were just skeletons in like a fetal position at each one of his feet. Have you heard that story?
Vaguely, yes. It's what I kind of ran the whole spectrum, like the gamut of research, because I didn't know where to start. So I just kind of started listening to everything.
Okay.
And that ties into, like, on the archaeology side of things, listening to certain researchers in, when they went looking for this, is that the United States, the middle, actually it's not so much the middle, it's like pretty much all over the country there are little burial mounds everywhere. Some are really, really big, and some are like what you just said. The guy thought it was a hill, so he wanted to dig into it to build something. And next thing you know, he's digging into something that's like, whoa, is this supposed to be here, type of thing. And
So we don't.
it's just,
Oh, I'm sorry. So we don't get. I was saying we had a couple of people come in and leave, so we don't get people to leave right away. Like I said, the next thing we're going to talk about is a Bigfoot investigation that I have that I'm actually going to tomorrow. So I'll have some video and stuff. I also have this to share with you tonight. We have a map that we can go and look at and survey the area. So that's coming later. So if you want to hear this, you got to stick around, because for right now, we're talking about Bigfoot. So, I mean, we're talking about giants. So, like I said, if you want to hear about the others, you got to stay around, because you'll get a little insight on how I go about looking at a property, how I go about just in general. This is a very, like I said, this was brought to me earlier today. I got to hear some recordings that, like I told Chaos earlier, it sounded really interesting. I'm not sure what it is, but Chaos will even get to see where, when I told him the guy was standing and how far it was. It's a pretty good distance, and as loud as it was on a cell phone recording, yeah, this ain't no human. So now to get back to the giants, y'all. Oh, that brought the people in. Look at that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's just get into the Bigfoot thing now. Let's just do that now. We can talk about the giants after. So we got a little bit of time.
Okay. Well, we'll go back to, we'll add the screen share again. Okay. Now, this is like I said, this is out in the country. Little country road right here. Let me roll up. Scroll up. Little country road, and I'm actually hiding part of the screen so you can't get the GPS locations. This is how I go about looking. I find the GPS location, and I look at the general area. This is the house right here. Now, the guy was standing. You can see he's got a pool. He was actually standing right down here when he took this video. This video and sound, whatever this was standing down here in this set of trees. Small scope of trees. It is not that long of a distance. We're going to draw a line to show. Yeah. Well, it's not letting me draw the line. That damn you. Anyway, you're probably talking about from here to down here in these woods. This is where he was saying it's somewhere down in here. This thing was loud enough that you could hear the gurgling from like I said, from the sound. It's kind of like the sound that I do, like, but you could hear like it sounded like gurgling mixed in with it. I've not heard a squatch do that. I'm not saying they don't do that. I just haven't heard that. I've already looked at this. This is a pretty unique property. Now you have another house over here. He said these people here, they stay here about 2 weeks out of the month. So they're there for 2 weeks and gone for 2 weeks. Then you have another house that's right here. He said it's been that. No, wait a minute. I'm sorry. This is the house that somebody doesn't live in. This is the house that they stay for 2 weeks and gone for 2 weeks. There's nobody in this house right here. There hasn't been nobody in this house, he said, for over 6 months because the person that lived there died. This was the original owner of the property. Line kind of goes down through here, this tree line. This was the original property owner. This is his son that built the place. And like I said, he's gone for 2 weeks and home for 2 weeks. What I thought was unique, the property line goes from right at the edge of this road through here, all the way to this clearing, all the way to right here at this intersection, comes down comes all the way down. There's a point right back here, and then it goes back up. All right, this guy, all he does is this 50 something acres. I think it's 54 or 57 acres.
Wow, that's a big piece of land right there. Holy.
Yeah, and when I say it's in the middle of nowhere, there you go. Like I said, it's in the middle of nowhere.
So what would you say? Maybe he was like, it's hard for me to judge distance on something so small. What do you think? Maybe he was 50 yards away when he was recording that?
Well, we're gonna say that's an average size pool right there, and you can. I thought this thing would let me draw on the freaking map, but apparently it's not. Hold on, I thought there was a way I could draw.
I mean, because that looks close, but it doesn't look like it's like right up on his house, though. It'd be hard telling, not being there just to see,
He told me. Oh shit! I accidentally did that. Oops, there we go. He told me, like I said, he was standing down here in this little area right here. And if I grow in too close, it does that. And these are all from Google Earth, by the way, y'all. This is the way I look up stuff and get a general idea. He was standing down here in this area because there's a boat right there. He was actually came out to get his boat ready. He was going to go do some fishing this weekend. Well, he kept hearing this noise from down in this area. He said he's lived there for over 30 something years, has never seen nothing, never heard nothing. I said, well, that's not unusual. But he says that's about 100 yards from right there where he was to that little scope of woods. Now, he couldn't tell me, it as loud as it was, I'm going to say it had to be standing in this little group of trees, right up in here. Because if it was further back, as loud as it was, that was a big MFer. But what I thought was unique is the way this thing, like I said, if it did come up there to this group of trees to watch this house, see, it could come in from anywhere right in here, go through this group of trees and watch that house. Nobody see it. It could go up in here to this and get up closer to the house. It could actually go around and get closer to the house without anybody ever seeing it. But we're going to roll out just a little bit. Like I said, do y'all see how vast this area is? This is a huge, huge area. Now, what is funny is I know Booger Valley is back over here. I'm not going to point exactly to where it is back over here. Booger Valley is actually, Booger Valley is within this circle. So you look at see, that's the biggest major road that's way away from it, several miles. This is you're 20 something miles in the middle of the country. Now, there's three things that a Squatch is going to need if it's going to stay around. It needs water. Well, we got a huge man-made damn waterway right here. There's a pond there. There's a pond there. And if we go back a little bit more, I thought there was another pond. Yeah, there's another pond right there. And there's another pond right up there. So there's plenty of water for this thing. And this area is known for deer. I'm talking about that. He said he kills at least 5 deer every year on this little parcel of land. He said there's nothing to go out there, stand at the back, right back there where he was, and he shot deer right in this field right here where this thing was. And it was after dark. He said there's no time that he's ever not come across this hill down in here and seen deer. He keeps this cut like this because he said he hunts it. That's all he does is hunt it. It takes him a week to cut all this on a bush hog with a 15-foot bush hog. That's a lot of land, takes up a lot of time. I believe this creature is coming in. I believe it's one that has kind of gotten kind of relocated, as you would say. Because think about it, people have been staying in, even out here in these rural areas. They've been staying away from their other people, staying away from, whatever. He like I said, and I know he told me this neighbor's house to give you a judge of this neighbor's house, he said, is over 1,000 yards from his house. They're 1,000 yards apart. And you can tell halfway is right there. That's 500 yards. So we're going to say that's probably 100 yards or less. That's no more than 100 yards from right there where we were talking about. From right there to there. I'm going out into these woods tomorrow, probably until tomorrow evening, to see if I can figure out what the hell is out there. He hasn't seen anything. He just had this thing growl, gurgle. He said he'd never heard. He said it sounded like a lion trying to roar, that somebody was drowning. And from what he told me, I mean, the one from what I heard on his little recording he had, that's the closest thing. Like I say, it's a. I can't make the noise, even if I tried. It sounds like a Bigfoot trying to growl that's being drowned. That's the easiest way, but it was way too loud for it to be a person. If that makes any sense. Oh shit, we're already up to 16 people in here. Can y'all still hear me? Chaos?
Backstage. There I am.
Shit, man. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I made a boo-boo because I tried to split screen my phone so I could see the chat and do this at the same time, but it doesn't quite work like that, I found out.
Well, I don't know if you got that. Damn it, I accidentally hit the wrong thing and now my damn map is gone.
Well, I was actually I was sitting here looking at what you were saying and pointing it out on the map and everything like that. One of the questions that came up to me is that, you said Booger Valley isn't that far away from this place. Do you think it could be any of the inhabitants of that area that might be moving down just for resource purposes and then they go back?
I don't know. It could be. There's probably 40 miles in between Booger Valley and that place. So I don't know what the actual range is or whatever of people.
Well, it don't really take much for these, for these guys to really cover a lot of ground, especially if they're big ones. You know what I mean? They can cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time.
Hold on. What look about the map? Let me go back and chat. I was looking at the map and wasn't paying attention to chat. I hope nobody asked me exactly where this was, because y'all know I don't tell that. And like I said, I was hiding part of the map because I didn't want the GPS locations to be out. Yeah, let's give a share. Hey, y'all need to go over and listen to Lakea's freaking new show, y'all. And I'm jealous because the last, not this show she just put out, but the show before that, she actually dedicated to chaos. I'm kind of getting jealous. I think she's playing favoritism.
Yay.
Matter of fact, hold on 1 second. Stop playing.
Welcome back to the Lakea show.
Stop playing. Sorry. Paste. There we go. All right. Somebody want. All right. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, it's a possibility that they could come over. I don't know. I know I haven't. Sorry, my computer was telling me that I was doing something that I wasn't supposed to. Shut up! I do what I want. But it's I don't know what the range is. I know Booger Valley is about 40 miles from this area. The thing is, the sound that he captured on his phone. I've never heard them make that noise. The same thing I told Chaos. I'm not saying they don't make that noise. I just ain't never heard one. It sounded like the damn thing was trying to growl and it was drowning all at the same time. But like I said, there's probably areas. There is a river that's a couple of miles from that area. I don't know if people seen that on the map. And like I said, I accidentally clicked off the map a while ago by accident. And can't get back to it. Wait a minute. No, that's not it. That's not it either. Well, shit. Anyway, can't get back to that right this second, but it's a possibility. But I guarantee you, there's places back in there that nobody has stepped foot on in years. There's no telling what's back there or anything, because the first thing I asked him, have you ever seen any weird tracks? No. He does have wild hogs on this place. It's a shit pot load of deer. The next question I asked, had he ever seen anything weird? He said no. He said no. He's got two older kids. One of them, I can't remember which one he told me. One of them said about a year or so ago, he remembered them saying something about they thought they had a trespasser on the place because they caught a glimpse of somebody running across the back end of one of the fields. That's all he told me. He said, but he never went down there and seen where anybody had been at or nobody had messed with anything. And he's got trail cameras up. He said, I never caught a picture of anybody, on my trail cam. So he's like, well, if they were, they were. He didn't get to see them, and they said whoever it was pretty big and was wearing all dark clothes. To me, that might have been a sighting. I don't know. It wasn't there. They said a person, so if I figured if it would have been an animal, they wouldn't have described it as a person. Let me look in the chat. I are there.
It could also be depending on how far away they were from the actual sighting itself. I mean, if it was dark, it was quick. It could have been a person, a big dude out there just running around in the woods by himself. I don't know why he would want to do that, but
I don't know either. Back in this area, look, y'all don't understand. These people back there shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah. Well, it almost seems like if this is like generally the first time he's ever seen anything happening, and if he's the type of person that watches over his stuff, closely, where he's got trail cameras and all that stuff out there. Maybe it's a possibility of a group moving through the area. And just kind of hanging out for a while because it's a food and water source.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Maybe if it was just lumbering through the area. He said at that little point where I was pointing to, like I said, when he walked out, he kept hearing something. So he walked down there to see what was in the field. He said because he walks down there, he's walked down there during deer season to go deer hunting, and that little field that's right there. He said it's 400 yards to the back of that field from where from where he was standing. He shot deer about middle ways to that field, about 200 yards. He said he wasn't gone to go hunting less than 30 minutes when he done shot a deer, went and got his 4-wheeler, came back, got the deer, and he was already dragging the deer back to his house because deer stay in that little field down there. He keeps it cut, and there's ryegrass, there's barley, there's clover, there's all kind of stuff. And parts of the year he keeps a big, huge feeder. He said he's got 3 of them on his property that are tripod feeders that are 55-gallon drum feeders that have corn in them. All he does is turkey hunt and deer hunt. That's it. That's all he does. And he keeps his place bush hog and stuff like that. He said because, they ride 4-wheelers and stuff like that. That's what I'm saying. He said he's never seen anything but people, there could be evidence all over the place, and because he wasn't looking for it, he just missed it. But he said this thing was growling because he had walked out there and was making noise, getting his boat ready, because him and some friends were going to go fishing this weekend. And he heard the noise, so he walked down there to see what the heck was making that noise down there in his field. And when he got right there, this thing started, he said it was like a shock wave hit him in the chest. That's for key, because I've had that happen to me, and a lot of other people have described that when they growl, yell, whatever. A lot of people want to call it inference. I don't know what the hell it is, but I've had it happen to me where these things vocalize right towards you, and it feels like you're standing in front of a stage speaker. And like I said, the gurgling involved with it is what it sounded like. Hold on. This is what it sounded like on top of the that. That's the easiest way.
I'm sorry. It's just funny.
You put that with the growl at the distance they were at, I just don't, but I'm having a hard time believing this was a human. Because I was like, you sure it wasn't somebody down there messing with you? He said, if it was, I don't want to meet him. Because he's like, I got to record. I tried to record it to see, I brought up my phone so I could record it. Because he said, I didn't think people were going to believe me. I said, well, that recording right there, people still won't believe you, but okay, I'll listen to it. And it's a recording where he's got it on he's got a really good, the iPhone X or whatever the heck it is. That's what he's got it on. And like I said, you can hear it really, really good. It's loud. And I was like, well, how far do you think that is away? He said, it's within 100 yards. He said, when you come out tomorrow, he said, you'll see how far it is. So I'm going out there tomorrow to do an investigation. And somebody asked in the chat I seen before I started rambling off at the mouth, did I think it was some of the ones from Booger Valley, I think. How many clans were there at Booger Valley? I don't have any idea. I don't know if they stay clanned up. I noticed there's a couple out there that I know are the same ones I've seen multiple times. Why they stay in that area, and I've seen them there summertime, wintertime, fall, all through the year. I don't know why they stay around, other than they've got everything they need. Why the hell would they leave? And nobody's really bought.
I mean, if it's a prime area, you know what I mean? Why move on?
Now, what if this is one that is searching the area for its own little place or a little clan to get with? Because I believe after a certain length of time, some of the juvenile males get put out of the clan because, if they all stayed in that clan all the time, you're going to have a lot of inbreeding start. You're going to have some uncle, brother, sisters, going on. So I believe it's kind of like a wolf tribe, wolf clan, or even an ape clan. Well, once a juvenile male gets to a certain age, they get pushed out. The dominant male will push them out. They either got to stay and fight or leave, and 90% of the time they leave. What if it's one of those cruising the area trying to find his one true only, or just looking for his own spot? Or it might be an old one just looking for a place to retire, go to the other place. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. There's too many unknowns still in this area, in this. Plus, like I said, I don't know if this is a squatch or not. Look, if it's, I've never heard them make this noise. I'm not going to say it's a squatch. I don't think it's a dog man. I know somebody asked, do I think it's a lizard man? I don't. I'm only, like I said, I didn't even know these damn things were around and anywhere around me. I've heard of lizard man one time. It was in a skateboard swamp, and I thought that was somebody that smoked too much Depoto. Lakea, point involved, or like I said, I don't know. Hey, Paul.
Well, I guess maybe that could kind of make sense. I mean, if that were a situation where there was a juvenile male that thought he could wear the big pants and he got put down or decided maybe to break away and, look for something, it would make sense that we want to stay in the same area, but move just slightly far enough away so that he's not intruding on his old clans or that leader's area, and he's finding something just say south or west or how whatever direction that it is comparatively.
I'm going
that could make sense to me, looking for a good place to be, but as well looking for another mate or another clan that might be close by.
Well, y'all are going to get to go along with me on this because, like I said, I'm going out tomorrow and I'm going to be doing some video and stuff. I don't know when I'll be able to get to show up. It may be sooner than later. I don't know. And I will be letting y'all know what I find. You'll be seeing how I go about looking for stuff. I'm trying to do something that nobody else has really done. I'm carrying y'all with me on an investigation. It's a when I call a cold investigation. I have no idea. You've seen what I've seen. I pulled up an aerial Google Earth view of what it looks like out there. I don't even know if it still looks like that. I just know he told me keeps his place cleaned, and it looks like it stays clean. Like I said, there are a couple other houses within a mile. Is probably he said the closest other house was 1,000 yards away from him. So uh, I've seen a couple other houses on the photograph, on the Google Earth. I said, there's a lot of roaming room. I can tell you that. If y'all seen on the Google Earth when I rolled it out, like I said, this is nowhere near a population zone. This is miles and miles away. It's 20 miles off the main road. Let me look in chat again here. Oh, see, it just. Okay. Dice is talking about going lipping. Oh, okay. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Ooh, that almost sounds naughty.
What the hell is Lakea talking about? Hashtag Bigfoot chocolate. What?
Oh yeah, that's definitely naughty. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Now you're getting into the world of oxygen tanks, and you just swinging stuff around that don't need to be swung around. I'm just saying.
You gonna get us in trouble.
Well, I'm trying to be as PC as I can, but I can only do so much.
Lakea's gonna get us in trouble with that stuff because I keep looking over at chat and I start mumble. I can't read and talk at the same time because if I read and start trying to talk, I talk what I'm reading. Yeah, Vault is slow like that. Shut up and leave me alone.
Wait,
so I'll be done. Go ahead.
Oh, I can't say much because before I actually got on the air with you, I used to be in chat and I was causing all kinds of trouble. So I can't say anything about that there. So
I'm just. My choke. I think Lakea said it was Sasquatch and two Sasquatches love notes.
Oh, I never thought of that. They might have ducked away for a little bit of love in the woods.
I'm just telling you, I've never heard them make that noise. I've never seen two Sasquatches go at it either. So I don't know. I'm just telling, like I said, all I'm telling you is what I heard on that damn. I wish I could have got the recording from him so I could play it tonight, but he was in a hurry and I was in a hurry trying to get everything set up. But like I said, yeah, that's a good part. Like I said, anything's a possibility. Well, because, like I said, we don't know enough to say we know enough. We hadn't even started scratching the Sasquatch's back yet, so everybody's laughing at me. We're gonna do this to see because I like being interactive with people, so we'll see who's got the hairy ones tonight.
Oh.
And I hope everybody can hear me better than y'all usually can. Like I said, Vault is on a new mic, and this thing is sensitive. When I say sensitive, I was showing Chaos earlier. I'll show y'all. Do y'all hear that in the background? That is the fan on my computer running. I can't hear it without my headphones. I can put these on and turn it up. Now I'm about 5 feet away from the mic right now. So, like I said, I haven't got this thing dialed in really, really good yet. So, y'all can still hear me, right? I didn't turn myself all the way down. Nope.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
You never know. We might be able to pick up some EVP on that thing. Is there anybody who wants to talk to us tonight?
Well, like I said, it's a road gear something. The hell I don't know. I covered the damn name up. I can't see. It's a road something other. It's put out by Audio Technical. It took the act of Congress to get it here. Thought I was gonna have to go hunt down the freaking damn delivery man. Not me. Come on, hey. Anybody got any questions? Like I said, I gave y'all. Everybody's see. This is what I'm talking about. Everybody always wants proof or what you're doing on your investigations. Y'all are in on the bottom floor, just like one starts out. Maybe y'all can ask me a question that I haven't thought of to go be looking for tomorrow, because I haven't ever thought to look for it. Come on, somebody had the fairy ones, and come on in.
It's funny because while we wait for somebody to get a question together, or get the cojones to come in here with us, I actually got a comment on my Bigfoot story earlier today. Okay. And I didn't really respond to it, but it was one of those deals where it was like, you had a gun and you could have made world news, and basically saying that don't call this a true encounter because it's not. And it's like, oh, really? I was there. I like to think that I knew what I was looking at, but that's okay though. It's all right. I mean, nobody's going to believe everything they hear, and it's right that you shouldn't. It's always good to have a good, healthy dose of skepticism, because I've got plenty of it.
What in the hell is LaCann talking about? I don't. Okay. I don't bite. I'm kind of full right now. Let's see here. There we go. Another opportunity. Like I said, all it takes is one click away. We will change you forever.
That's the truth.
But I've been thinking about doing a little bit of ghost stuff. Reason why I haven't never really got into the ghost stuff is because it's really, really too easy to fake. I'm talking about it. I've been on a couple of ghost hunts, or whatever you want to call them, where I can't tell you what the hell was going on or what. I never did really see anything. Some weird stuff did happen. Then I've been on a couple where it was obvious somebody was trying to exploit some stuff because they set stuff up. And that's one of the things, like I said, that teased me off. Don't fake nothing. If you got something going on, you got something going on. If you don't, you don't. If it's novelty, let people know it's novelty. They'll still be probably scared most of the time when stuff happens, but don't try to pass fake stuff off as real. There's enough of that crap already out there, and there's enough people already making fun of us that we think, I go looking for Bigfoot. You're an idiot. Okay.
Why would you want to do that? I mean, I can understand seeing is believing. I get that. No matter what, but.
And I answered to your question a while ago, with you having a gun and you seeing what you saw, you wouldn't think that gun melted away. You had no idea that gun was even in your hands.
The thing is I wasn't even holding a gun. I didn't have anything. It was the guy sitting next to me that had a gun. He had a 30-40 Craig laying across his lap. And that, I mean, as close as we were, with a bullet that big, it's going to put a hole in that thing. You know what I mean? That's even if you can get it up in time. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, you can believe whatever you want to believe. I ain't going to put no one down for their opinion. No way, because I have my own opinions. But it's just one of those things that, I mean, when you're confronted by something like that, something that in your mind shouldn't exist from the way that you've grown up, considering, being modern society and all that stuff, I'm going to tell you, I've seen enough in my life to be like, yeah, I can handle ghosts. I grew up around that stuff. Yeah, I still get a little spooked because get that adrenaline going. But seeing something like this is an honest to God monster. It's like, hey, believe what you want, but I was there, and we're in a friggin' bear. I can tell you that much.
No, you get that close to one, seeing it. Yeah, there's no doubt it's not a bear. Boo Boo does not look like that. And hold on,
I mean,
dice roller. What is he talking about? On, come on in here, Dice, and ask the questions. Come on. Uh,
But yeah, I mean, touching on that paranormal thing real quick, it's really easy to fake stuff like that. But I mean, if you think about it, ghosts and everything, that's kind of almost become mainstream if you think about it. I mean, they're not necessarily talking about it in the Washington Post or on Dateline or anything like that. Actually, probably there has been a couple times on Dateline, but I mean, it's kind of almost become mainstream in a way because I mean, we talked about it, a while ago on a past episode of a podcast, but I mean, with modern technology nowadays and the way digital, phones and video recording equipment has gotten so good, you can pick up things in other spectrums that you wouldn't normally be able to see with the human eye. And
like with this guy today, I asked him, what made you think to get out your phone and do a recording? He said, dude, I stood there for 15 minutes before I was like, I got to get to see if I can't record this. He didn't automatically think of getting it on recording. He said he'd been standing there 15 minutes, probably longer. And he's like, I got to see if I can't record this, or maybe something will come out and I want to record it. He didn't automatically go right to his phone. He was standing there in amazement trying to figure out what the hell is this? Because like I said, you can tell he lives in the woods. He's not used to hearing shit like this. This ain't normal.
yeah,
He's like, this
heart's
ain't
probably. Oh, go ahead.
He said, this is not normal. He said, I've never heard. He said, I didn't know what this was. He said, and the vibration he felt in his chest, that was what shocked him. He said that he's been to several concerts, and being up next to the stage, that's the only time he's ever felt that vibration from when somebody really got down on the drums or hit a bass note. And like I said, I've had that same thing happen to me. That's why I'm leaning more towards a Squatch. I don't know what the hell this is because I ain't been out there yet to look. And Dice, it doesn't matter if you've only had one encounter. You got something 90% of the people that go out looking for it have never gotten. There's people that have been looking for Squatch for years that have never seen one. Don't even know if they really heard one. What else is going on in chat?
Well, that's one of those things is that like with that guy, I mean, I can completely relate, and I know that you can too, is that, when you come into a situation like that, your heart starts beating fast, the hair rolls up on the back of your neck, you start to get that tingly feeling, that adrenaline is just pounding right through your system, and you're like, eyes wide open, breathing heavy, you're trying to, calm your mind, you're going haywire and stuff, So I totally know that feeling 100%.
Well, like I said, y'all are gonna get to see what I find. I always go, even on hearing this and stuff like that, I always go with an open mind. I'm trying to prove it's everything but a Squatch. I got a feeling that's not going to happen on this time, but that's the way we're going into it. And like I said, as long as he said he's lived there, he's never seen anything. This is the first time he's ever heard anything. One of his kids thought they saw a trespasser, a year or so ago on their property, from what he told me, but he never did find any sign of it, and they haven't seen anything since. So, this could be one that's was just going through the area. I have no idea. I'm listening. I'm reading Paul. Like I said, I can't read and talk at the same time, so I'm sorry, y'all. Pause. But Dice, did you say you had an encounter with a Squatch? Yeah, okay. What's going on? I think there is an old barn or shed back off in the woods, he told me. So that's one of the areas I want to check out because they're known to frequent. What? Okay. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't. Or you got to refresh my memory.
What was the question?
Lakea. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Bear was knocking over shit, y'all. He's got a big badonkadonk. Uh, I think the only thing I can think of is about a week or so, maybe longer. Might have been 2 weeks ago now. Lakea was over here and she was talking to Vamp, and they were sitting out. She was sitting outside, and there was a bird over in the bushes. I know this was a bird because I know the sound it makes. And like I said, where it was a bird. It's a very small bird. It was a thrush. Does anybody know what a thrush is or the sounds they make? It freaked Lakea out. She's like, I don't know what the hell this is, but she was all freaking out. It was funny as hell. I couldn't stop laughing. Yes, Bear has a big badonkadonk. Paul ain't got no sense. But like I said, it's I don't. I said I hope this turns out to be something that I can give y'all. That like I said, this is something that I'm going to start trying to do. Like I said, this is just something that came a couple of hours before this stream even started. I called Chaos. I don't know what was it, about 6 or 7 o'clock, and told you the guy left. And
yeah, something like that.
I took the coordinates, went in and Google Earth, punched them in, brought up the place, and I was like, this is interesting. Because I wanted to see, you know, how far he was off the road.
These pictures should match.
What the hell?
Wow. It talks.
This thing started doing something it shouldn't have done.
Well, who knows? Maybe it actually may not have been a squatch. Maybe it was something else.
I don't know. Like I said, I've never heard it make the noise. I've never heard one make the noise that this one made. Because, like I said, it sounded like that, but with the gurgling involved, like it was. I was like, damn, this thing sounds like it's drowning. That, you know, or it's sick or something else. What if it is a sick one? Maybe that's
who knows
by itself.
Maybe I never thought of that possibility, but you know, yeah, actually, that could be a very viable option.
Yeah, we couldn't stop laughing at her, y'all. That little bird had her worried. Like I said, if for anybody that doesn't know what a thrush, if it's 6 inches tall at the most, I don't even think it weighs a half a pound. It's a little bitty damn thing. That was hilarious. Like I said, let's see. Does anybody, like I said, want to come in, ask some questions? Maybe give me some ideas of what to go look for. If you got some ideas, if I don't think it will get somebody hurt or whatever, hey, I'll try them, show you I'm trying them.
Yeah, and you know what, as well, I mean, if there's somebody in there that's got an interest in the Giants thing, I know that we originally were going to start the show off with it, but this is kind of like this late breaking news type of stuff, and it's pretty interesting from you know what you had told me earlier.
Yeah, like I said, this was an impromptu of going on. Like I said, me and Chaos have been talking about the giant thing since the end of the last show.
Dude, I have listened to so much stuff from all over the place and all different sides. I am totally gianted right out, but I've got all this information, you know, floating around in my head. I'm like, I got to spew it. Lady Chaos don't want to hear none of that stuff. So she's just like, I don't care. She goes, UFOs, that's one thing. All right. But Bigfoot and giants, I'm just all set. Talk to Vault about it. I'm like, okay. Jeez.
You got shut down really quick, huh?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, she does that a lot. She's gotten really, really good at it over the years.
I'm trying to get back into Google Earth so I can bring the. Oh, look at that! It saved it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got lucky. Uh, you little mf'er. I'm trying to hide the. Like I said, I don't want to give. God damn it! All right. Like I said, now that is everybody here? Okay. Now, screen share. Wait a minute, I ain't screen shared. What the hell? Okay, screen share. Where's it at? There we go. I had to hit too many damn buttons. There we go. Everybody can see what I'm saying now, right?
Yes.
All right. Like I said, the guy was standing right in here. Is from what I understand. If I'm wrong, I'll let y'all know. I know he said there's a little bitty, like an island of stumps, rocks, and stuff like that, and some trees that's kind of in the middle of this first opening. This right here. Now, like you
So
told,
is that where he said he heard it? Just to be clear,
yeah,
right in there.
he said he heard it right in this area right here. He doesn't know if it was at the back of it, the front of it. You just couldn't see whatever was making the noise. And on the video, from the way it looks, is he's standing like right here, pointing back. And like I said, now this is a good long. It's probably 100 yards. I'm going to say it's no more than 100 yards. I may be wrong, but from right here, I'm going to say 100 yards. All right. Whatever it was right there at 100 yards. This thing sounded like it was 10 feet in front of him. That's how loud it was. That's why I don't think it was a person, because just the extreme noise it was making on the phone, because it sounded like it was he was shoving the phone down its mouth, is because it was that loud. But like I said, when I say a wide open area, like I said, you've got a couple of houses just right here. This house nobody's lived in for over 6 months. This one, somebody stays in it every 2 weeks. I don't know about this one, and I don't know about this one, but still, look how wide of an area. And you've got looks like a barn way over here. But like I said, this is the outline of his property right here. This is 50 something acres, 54, 57 acres that goes up through here.
Well, that looks like a lot of dense woodland. That's pretty easy for something to hide in there if it wanted to.
All right. Now, I know he said they ride 4-wheelers and stuff like that all over his property. But now, look at what is not his property. You know, you got some houses way back off in here, but look how dense this is. Now, this looks like it hasn't been, this looks like it was cut and replanted, I'm going to say probably 20 years. It's getting ready to get thin for the first time. You see there's roads cut through here, stuff like that. Like I said, something could easily. Why does this look like a landing strip? Okay, that must be where his fields of wheat. But he said he had all he does is hunt now. He's got ryegrass, wheat, winter wheat fields. He's got clover. I guarantee you, this is his fields he was talking about. He's got them. He said he had them in a line. I bet you that's it right there. So I was like, why the hell does that look like a runway? Look, I'm talking about something could come. We're gonna roll out. There's a creek down here somewhere. I don't see it on here. I don't see it. He said there was a creek. I bet you that's it right there. Bet you that's it.
Well, I mean, I could see that, because I mean, there's a way, like,
well, I'm just saying,
when you get up to the area that, you know, farther north than where I live. I mean, I live in a pretty urban area, and there are some urban areas, you know, just to the north and to the south is pretty much urbanized, but there's a lot of woodland that if you do it the right way, it'll take you right into the Appalachian Trail. You know, all the way up from like, you know, from Maine and Canada, all the way down and through to the, you know, heavy wooded areas in there. I mean, it's not unfathomable that, you know, these creatures, if they can pass through this area and kind of literally sneak by us and we'd never know it, they could definitely move around with impunity around that area.
I was trying to read chat. I don't know if I missed something in chat or not while I was doing this. But that's what I'm saying. You know, this is a vast freaking area. So there's probably, I would say, besides his little 50-something acres, let's say this little place right over in here. You don't see any roads cut. You see a few little clearings, just a little bitty something. I don't know if that's a house. It looks like a house. It's way back up in the woods, but.
Geez, that's being right out there, isn't it? Holy.
I just spotted it. There's supposed to be a old house site on his property, and I was trying to locate it. And I haven't had very much luck. You might not can see it from the trees. I think it's supposed to be, from what he told me, you go out his side of his house. It's supposed to be up in here somewhere. It was an old house place. But like I said, this is a booger. I don't see why wouldn't be here. That's my whole thing, because you got plenty of hiding. You get plenty of water. He said this field right here, he's never went down during hunting season that it wasn't deer in this field. This is where I was talking about. He was gone for 30 minutes. He walked down this field. I mean, right out here, he shot a deer in the middle somewhere of this field, went and got his folder, came back, drug it. Within 30 minutes, he had it hanging up. That's how long it took him to go out and kill. Oh, wait a minute. That's like an old house place right there. Right there. Because he said you go out the back of this house. Yeah, I bet you that's an old house place right there. You know what I do see, and it's odd? I'm going to have to check this out. Look right here. This looks like a pole that has lights on it. Why would you have that in the middle of no? It don't make no sense. I don't think he's been very forthcoming with us, y'all. That, and you notice how clean it is around his house? I wonder if that's the reason why he keeps it mowed down, is to keep these damn things away. Because think about it. Look at every other house right around here. Now, nobody lives in this house. Hadn't been in 6 months. This is a very, very old guy. He died here. Look at this house. You ain't sneaking up on this house. Look at this house. Look at this house. Why? Like I said, he said it takes him a week each month with a 15-foot bush hog to keep all this cut. That's a lot of effort, especially in the summertime, to keep all this cut just to be using it for only deer hunting. I'm wondering, y'all. The plot has thickened.
Maybe he's taking preventative measures, and he kind of doesn't want to feel like he's all that crazy and hasn't quite been forthcoming with the information, you know. Yeah, because he don't want to sound bad, you know.
Well, I've had that happen before where, you know, they were just kind of feeling me out to see what I thought because they've been called crazy, laughed at. Now, this guy was referred to me by a third party that knows me that somehow knows him. I'm not exactly sure how that went about, but the person that referred him knows me very, very well. He was actually somebody I was trying to get to come on here to tell some stories about some stuff he's run into. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag because we're still trying to make sure that's okay because of what he does. But I'm wondering if this has not been going on for a while. And because I specifically asked him, have you ever seen anything or whatever? And he was kind of like, no. But my kids said that they thought they saw somebody going across a trespasser. Now, he's got cameras all up in his woods, he said. He's never caught anything on. Why would you have cameras all the time up on your place? Hunters, I understand during hunting season, but this is, like I said, now that I'm studying this more and more, this is it's odd. You've got all these houses right here that for anybody that doesn't know, this is several acres that has been cut down, really cleaned away from the house. This one here has. This one has a little bit of woods, but if you roll in, you can see it sparsely around it. There's a pole out here with some big ass fucking lights on it for some fucking reason. And I don't see no barn, no shed, no nothing else. So why? Look. Nope, that's a tree. My fault. I was gonna say.
Well, you know, that's the mystery of it, because you're never really gonna know until
Right here.
tomorrow when you actually get out there.
All right, now look right here. Here's another pole with big lights on this property. There's another one right there. There's another one right there. Let's roll. There's another one right there. There's no reason for this pole to be down here with lights on it like that. There's another one right there. There's another one right there. What the hell is that? Okay, that's just looks like a deep spot in the shadows in the water. But
well, if you want to keep these creatures away and keep it kind of ho-hum, wouldn't that be a good idea if he's going to spend all this time cutting down all of this food source? That would be the food source for the whatever it is coming through his area. Well, and then you go ahead and you have all these light poles up there, if that's indeed what they are. And then all you got to do is flip those on at night, because, you know, the big guy don't like bright light, hurts their eyes, so they're going to leave the area. Kind of sounds feasible, doesn't it?
Somebody wants to hear about black-eyed kids. Sorry, I don't have any stories about black-eyed kids.
No, I haven't. You know, I do have a little something on black-eyed kids, some stuff that I had heard, but I mean, I don't know how helpful that would be.
That's just not something I get into. But well, what I think, they don't like lights. And if you clear out enough area, like around this house, you got lights going everywhere. They're going to be less likely to come up here because they don't like the light and they're not going to want to be seen. And like I said, if this thing came in from this area right here and was watching this house for some reason, let's say deer do come down in here. Well, you get one that's up here, you get another couple that's down here. This one here comes out into the field. It will run those deer right into they're going to take off running the opposite direction, right? And you got a couple lined up right here. They're going to have to come down through here somewhere trying to get away from this one. Easy ambush. He said that there's deer always in here. That's why I was like, I asked him that. But I also asked him, like I said, about seeing something before, and he was kind of hesitant, like, no, I've never seen anything. In matter of fact, he's the first one. He said, I've never seen any tracks that I couldn't explain. And then I didn't ask him about the tracks. He told me that. So we're going. I don't think. What the? Why is there a pole in the middle of this freaking lake? I mean, in the middle of this pond.
Maybe it's not a pole.
That's a pole.
If so, that would be weird.
That's a pole, because you see that little shadow right there. That's the line going back up through the woods.
Do you think maybe it could be like a dead tree right there?
Well, it's a dead tree with a damn power line on it.
Oh, it's got a power line. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
well,
power line. On it.
My screen is very, very small. So,
well, so you can see power lines.
Oh yeah. Okay. Right.
This has a power line. I barely caught it, but where'd it go? There it is. there's a line. I just don't see where it's. And see, it's right in line. There's a pole right here. It's right.
Well, that's just weird.
Put it right in front of a lake, right in the middle of a lake or a body of water like that.
Unless that wasn't there originally before, and because the people are always damming up and building in the little valleys and stuff. They're making little man-made lakes and stuff. Because I know he said this is man-made. This they built this. It took them several years, and they built this. The guy that owned, like I said, the guy that owned this is dead. That's supposedly his kid. I don't know about this house, and I don't know about this house, but I know he said this is this man's kid, and he works off. I think he works on an oil rig or something. I've never seen somebody plant deer plots like this, straight and around. You got one kind. I've never seen that before. And then there's something planted over here. I don't know. Wait a minute. That's a tree. Hold on, y'all. Hold on 1 second.
Well, it's all fun and games until a big hairy creature moves in and wants to eat all your wildlife.
That was Bear again, Now he want it back inside. Well, I said this is something I'm going to get with y'all on. That I'm going, like I said, when I go out tomorrow. Oh shit! I don't know what the hell I just did. I rotated this. I don't know how I did that, but okay. Okay, but anyway, I know a lot of people a while ago were in the chat and they wanted to hear more about the giants.
Oh, they did? Was that going through the chat?
Yes, that was going through the chat. That's one thing. I'm talking about when we started talking about giants again, even the chat room busted up to, I think we hit almost 40 at one time there. And then we started talking about Bigfoot and they're like, we don't want to hear this. But, like I said, this is that I will be getting back with y'all on the other when I go out, because more now that I look at this more and more, I'm thinking somebody's not being forthcoming, and I get that a lot. Now there's a link in the chat if somebody wants to come in. Now, Chaos, what is some of the stuff that you've come up with on the giants? I've shared a little bit about the Kandahar, and we'll probably come back to that.
Well, there's a really cool story behind the Kandahar giant. But I just I didn't know where to go. Honestly, I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff out there, but when you actually go searching for stuff, for viable things to actually listen to, where I'm pulling 50-hour weeks at work right now, so I'm 10 hours a day. So I gotta have something to listen to, you know what I mean? And I kind of looked at the archaeology side. I looked at the I guess biblical side of it. There's a lot of information in there. I listened to the entire book of Enoch twice, because the first time you're like, okay, hold on, I gotta listen to that again to try to make some type of sense in it. And I also listened to stories and, like folk tales and myth. And it all seems in some weird way to kind of tie together. It's just trying to figure out where it ties together and what you want to believe or what you want to discard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, Lakea had something she told me a long time ago that made me think, and she was right. Folk tales and myths started somewhere. Yeah, right. I understand that, they may have gotten blown way out of proportion to by the time they get to us now, but they started somewhere. If you go back and start seeing where, start trace back to the original story, it probably is a whole lot different than the story you first heard, and it sounds more like believable or more to something else. You know, if try to whisper a game, put 40 people in a room, whisper a word in one person's ear and tell them to pass it down. I guarantee you, by the time it gets back to you, it's not the words you originally said.
Yeah,
I've seen that happen.
Well, you know, there's also been like some evidence too. You know, there seems to be this weird great conspiracy, and it's not just limited to giants. This is like apparently relics from ancient Egypt were found in the Grand Canyon. And when the Smithsonian Institute comes in, they're kind of like the feds. They come in now, we're in control now, everybody get out. You know, they kind of push everybody out. They take everything and they make off back to Washington with it. And when it's inquired about later, they're like, well, we don't have anything. It got lost in transit. Now, I can understand maybe one or two times, but every single time, I mean, come on now. You know, there's just a lot of interesting things that kind of caught my attention as, weird. You know, you've got things like the Cardiff Giant and you've got the San Diego Giant, which are skeletons that have been unearthed. And you're looking at, I can't remember how tall the Cardiff Giant was, but I think the San Diego Giant was somewhere between 8 and 9 foot tall. That's kind of, and of course that was claimed by the Smithsonian, and we don't know what that is now anyway. But you know, there are pictures, there's proof of large things that, you know, I know some people can BS about stuff, but you know, when you've got a lot of people saying kind of the same type of story from different places around the country, and these mounds and these giant skeletons, and just not here, but overseas too, you know, it kind of makes you wonder, but give me a direction. I mean, what do you,
well, that's like you were saying, a lot of people, I think Dice is like, where were the bones? Well, one I was talking about a while ago was, and it's been documented in newspapers and all kind of stuff, was in the Four Corners area. A guy had some land that he was developing, doing something on, and it was a little mound there that everybody else had thought it was just, you know, a hill. And he started clearing it, excavating it or something else. He dug up a huge, it was actually a burial mound, but it was only this one. It was a giant mound. It was a Native American skeleton I think it measured almost 10 feet tall. And there were two regular size female skeletons at its feet in like a fetal position on each side. I said, that's well known. I forgot how many, I think it was back in the 40s that happened or something. But there's been some found in Arkansas up in caves. There's been some in Missouri I know found. Now, a lot of them were found up along the Appalachian Trail and stuff like that in the United States. I think there was a couple found in Colorado or Oregon. I can't remember off the top of my head. But then you got the Kandahar Giant, which is a lot of people, I'm pretty sure everybody has heard.
Well, what's funny about the Kandahar Giant is that when this took place, after they took the giant down, and they were waiting for you know, somebody to come in, a rally to come in and get them. Some of the soldiers apparently had gone into the cave a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And they had said it was very large, and they only went so far because it wasn't the entire group. They had already had one of their buddies had fallen because of, you know, this attack.
He got schooled.
And yeah, he did. And I mean, they're saying that this pike was where, what did they say in some of the stuff I heard, that it was probably about 10 feet long, and the actual tip itself was around 2 to 3 feet long. Now that's a big old warhead on the end of that thing.
Yeah.
And it just seems to me that they only went so far because, one, the smell was absolutely horrible. There were all kinds of bones in the cave entrance. You know, they knew they were in the right area because they had gone in, you know, trying to find another patrol that had been lost the day before. And they found all kinds of bones and broken radio equipment. So they knew they were in the right place. And all of a sudden this thing jumps down from a ledge on high, you know?
Yeah. That's what got them in kind of how did the one of the soldiers that was there, the way he told the story was that they didn't know what they were looking at when they came up on the bones and stuff like that, but he recognized some radio equipment that he knew to be U.S. issue radio equipment. It was all busted up to hell, and they thought the first thing they thought of is the Taliban setting up an ambush. So they spread out, or they probably would have got more died than the one guy that died. They spread out, and this thing came out of the open mouth of the cave, hollering and screaming, and jumped down, and one of the other guys just gung ho ran at him, firing, and he skewered him. And then that's when everybody else started putting rounds down range. And if I ain't mistaken, the guy said for some reason somebody hollered, "Shoot it in the head," and it still took several rounds after they started firing at his head to take it down. Now, there was supposedly some pictures and stuff like that of it that, some of the soldiers were taking. All that was confiscated.
Yeah. The only thing you have left are people's stories. Like the way this story broke out was the pilot that the helicopter pilot that came in, landed, they loaded this thing up into the helicopter, and they all took off. And he was the one who said something about this, which led, because he had contacted a researcher, and which led to another guy who was actually in the group itself. Now, here's the funny thing, is that you have these U.S. infantrymen, and the guy that actually talked to this researcher did he was on camera, but his face was hidden and his voice was distorted. Mm-hmm. So, you couldn't get an identity out of him. But he wasn't actually a U.S. infantryman. He was an independent contractor that went in with this group. Mm-hmm. And which is the strange thing. And, now he's talking about this, and a story comes out later that once this thing came to the United States, there was a Air Force pilot. Now, I'm not giving names because I don't have any names, because there weren't any that were given. So it's kind of like I'm giving you this, I'm telling you what, in this particular few videos that I watch is what I'm piecing together about everything. Because you're getting little different parts of the story. But anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. He actually knew what he was hauling because he had seen them put it on there, and he got a look at it and basically flew this to Reich-Pat, which is the home of alien land, I guess you could say, more so than Area 51, if you want to think about it, because everything ends up at Reich-Pat for some odd reason.
Well, that's because Reich-Pat is a testing facility. Most people don't know that. It's not a regular base. That is where a lot of our new stuff for the military, everything from weapons, radios, even Humvees, tires, bulletproof armament, all that stuff is tested there. They have testing facilities just built for stuff like that. That's the only thing I can think of why they would bring something that like this in, because this thing was supposed to be anywhere from 12 to 15 foot tall, if I do remember. And see, that's the other thing you said that keyed in. I've told people, a lot of people don't realize 90% of the time when a group would go out, any group, the Marine Corps, Army, whatever, most of the time when they went into what they call a hot zone, they took contractors with them, because contractors can get away with doing stuff the regular military cannot. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why for that.
Well, it's you had said that Dice had said in the chat that where are the bones, right?
Yep.
Here's something that everybody can split screen and Google. All right, because I didn't know this existed until this week, and then I went and I Googled the picture so I could look at it more closely. Was that there is an actual giant footprint in South Africa?
Yep, we talked.
We talked about that privately a little bit. And I never had seen this before. And so when I went to look at it later, it kind of blew my mind a little bit, because there are some things that just kind of, click, I guess you could say, that this footprint is like 5.5 feet tall. And the way it is it's sitting like it's imprinted on a rock, but the rock is sitting straight up.
And the funny thing about that is that
Our soldiers
if any of you,
may have even gorged
All right, hold
somebody.
on, I clicked on something. Sorry.
oh, no worries, no worries. But yeah, just to finish what I was saying is that if you've ever stepped in mud with your bare feet, you step in the mud, makes a print, and you go and you pull that foot out. The edges of that mud are going to flare a little bit from you pulling your toes out and your feet out. Well, there is a flare in this print, a piece that's stuck out, like, and it looks exactly like that. Now, I've heard varying numbers of age, but from what I gather, this print is tens of thousands of years old. And it literally looks just like a giant footprint, straight up. And they were saying that they estimated by size, if this footprint's about 5.5 feet long, that whatever made that footprint could have been 40 to 50 feet tall. Wow. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and if it gives you an idea of the Kandahar story of a 10 to 12 foot tall being, giant, so to speak, and it almost took out an entire group of highly trained soldiers, imagine what something like that would do, that big.
Well,
We're ants compared to that.
I put a link to one of the stories that go along with the Kandahar giant. And I said, I don't like to say anybody else's channel for whatever reason. They may get mad. They may not get mad. You can go look at it. He goes into a little bit more detail. The guy that, when you see this guy that's doing the interviews, everybody will know who he is. And he goes into depth. He's known for going into depth about it. Don't go now. Wait till after the show. Cop and wait till after the show. You make your own decision. I can't tell you one way or the other. I was not there, nor was nobody else. I don't believe in the chat. So, like I said, you have to go with things with an open mind. I can't believe we can't get any takers to come in with us to ask any questions about whatever we're talking about. It's like, are y'all scared? We're not going to bite you. Not right away anyway.
Well, you maybe a nibble, just a little.
The thing in the corner kind of looks hungry, but like I said,
yeah. Well, at least he's at your house tonight. So,
like I said, this is how things get solved. You talk, you discuss. Like I said, the giant thing, they found bones. So anybody's like, well, they've never found, you can't use that same thing from Bigfoot. Yes, they found bones of people that were, like I said, that the Native American bones that they found. They DNA tested it. It is Native American, and I think they measured up to 10 foot tall. It might have been taller. That the bones were, and the way that it was buried, they think that he was like a chieftain or something like that, because he had 2 Native American female skeletons buried by each foot. Their skeletons were in a fetal position. Now, a full-size female skeleton in a fetal position didn't even come up to his knee bone. The way it was, like I said, you can see them in the pictures. I don't have any of the pictures. I'm sorry. How you doing, Miss Mary?
Well, you look at certain places around the world that are just strange, and the stories that are associated to them.
Lakea asked something, but I didn't see what she asked. I might have missed it in the chat. Sorry. Stop flipping me off.
But you look at, for instance, is a good example that weaves a really strange area with folklore, and that would be the Giant's Causeway. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Well, it's a weird thing about this, and I didn't realize that. I knew about the Giant's Causeway in Ireland, but I didn't know that there is the same exact thing on the opposite side of the shore in Scotland. I did not know this. And the stories that are associated with it is that Ireland has this very rich story about a giant named Finn McCool. And if I pronounce that wrong, please don't crucify me. But excuse me. The story goes is that Finn McCool was this kind of like big friendly giant. I mean, he'd get mad, but if you made him unhappy. But he married a normal human woman, which follows a certain pattern. And the way the Giant's Causeway is that he had this rivalry with a Scottish giant name. I believe it's Bondonner. I believe that's what it was, Bondonner. And that Finn McCool started to build the Giant's Causeway because he's going to go over there and he's going to fight this other opposing giant. Well, Donner decides that he's going to do the same thing, and he starts building this giant bridge made out of stone, and they meet in the middle and they have this massive fight and it destroys the bridge. That's just one of the stories. There's another story that claimed that Finn McCool didn't want to fight this giant because he was that much bigger than he was. So he and his wife devised a plan to make Finn look like a baby. And when the Scottish giant got mad, he's like, I'm going to take you down, Finn McCool. And he comes stomping across the causeway. He looks at the baby and goes, wow, that's a big baby. And then he realizes, oh my goodness, how big could his father be? And he runs away and destroys the bridge so he doesn't have to deal with this baby's father. That's just a couple of the stories. And I find it interesting because what really was there? I mean, this was supposedly built in a time when we were using stone tools. And you're looking at these almost like, I don't know if they were square or octagonal shaped columns that look like they were just precision cut. So how are people going to do that with stone chisels and hammers? I mean, maybe I'm just downplaying, human ingenuity, and I don't mean to do that because we created some pretty amazing things in our civilization. But, then again, on the other hand, we couldn't do that with some of our best tools nowadays. Well, it's not like we couldn't, but it would be extremely difficult to do so.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Lakea's getting on to me for something.
Oh.
I forgot to do something.
Mm-hmm.
There. She got me doing stuff in the middle of the show that half the time I have no idea what the hell I'm doing.
Well, it always seems to work out.
I forgot to give her a wrench. I don't know how the hell it happened, but I think it's because you had one, and when you changed your name and stuff, it kicked it out. Type something now and make sure you see if you got a wrench. And for everybody again, this is the link to the Lakea show. Go listen to her. Leave her a like, subscribe, or we will hunt you.
Yeah, help a sister out.
Yeah. Because I'm kind of getting jealous here because, like I said, she dedicated this the show before the show she just dropped last night. I think it was the show before that. Was dedicated to chaos. I haven't got dedication.
Yay.
She said she's mad at you too because you didn't go leave her a like.
Who, me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I just haven't had the chance to listen to it yet, but I'm going to. And it seems like a really interesting title, so I don't really know what to expect, but I know it's going to be good. So definitely. And
you better get to putting out some stuff because she's got several more done.
When the stream's done, I'm gonna get over there. I'm gonna listen to it. And then I will make my presence known.
Well, hold on. Let's see here. We're going to copy. And what's funny, y'all, I'm going to put this out there. I'm not going to say who it is. There's somebody in the chat tonight that is actually going with me on this investigation tomorrow. And it ain't chaos, and it ain't Lakea. So
is it Paul?
No, it's not Paul. I'm not
going to fly in.
I'm not going to say who it is, and don't give it away, y'all. Who who you are. So somebody I'm bringing in to start helping on some investigation. Like I said, the boss is getting older and slower. So No, Lakea's like, no, it ain't happening. Mm-mm. She knows when she don't like getting dirty, y'all.
So, were there any questions popping up in the chat pertaining to some of the stuff we were talking about so far?
Hold on, I was sneezing. I didn't want to blow nobody's eardrums, so I had to cut my mic down.
Ooh.
What's going on, G? Uh, I don't know. I haven't seen anything. Mary, yes, I got your email. I haven't got back to you because, like I said, every time I turn around, I got Dice. It's me. I don't no, Dice. It's not you. Yes, we're talking about mountain giants, the giants in Kandahar, all giants. I, hold on a second. Bear, will you sit down?
Are you reading?
Yeah, Lakea was fussing at me on. She sent me a text because she said I wasn't paying close enough attention in chat. Anyway, she's like, was that like Operation Midnight, where the government comes in and removes aliens and stuff like that when they removed the Kandahar giant? I, I, all I know is they sent a chopper in to pick up the wounded and pick up whatever they had killed because it was odd.
Yeah, I mean, you know that if it's a U.S. military operation, whether it's like Operation Midnight or not, whatever they come across, they're going to take it so they can study it.
Exactly. What can we do with this? And are there still giants? I have no idea. Like I said, the Kandahar giant happened during the operations over in when they first started over in Afghanistan. Well, about middle ways of Afghanistan.
Well, you know, the Middle East is actually kind of known as the cradle of life. I mean, a lot of mainstream scientists say that man came out of Africa and it all started there. But if you look at like the tablets, Sumerian tablets, Emerald tablets, especially the Sumerian tablets, it's known that that area could be considered the cradle of life. It's called that. Now, I'd be willing to maybe bet loosely that if you had something jump up out of a cave like that, let's face it, just because that area is one massive desert doesn't mean stuff can't be hidden around there. There's a lot of caves, a lot of mountains, perfect place for something to hide out of sight, whether it be human or non-human.
What do
So
y'all?
I mean, I'd be willing to guess that it wouldn't be so far-fetched for me to know that, hollow earth theory, that there could be stuff living right under our feet and we wouldn't even know it, or living in those mountains. I mean, if we've got theories on the fact that there are massive underground United States military bases or research facilities, it's not that far for me to think that, these creatures or beings or whatever you want to call them wouldn't have the same type of thing. Because let's face it, we don't play well with ourselves, much less anybody else that ain't ourselves. So,
Yeah. Well, that's like I told you I think a couple of live streams ago, or it might have been on one of the other shows that we done, the infernal ones, where I told the story about them calling in mortar strikes on some Taliban, and they were in front of these caves, and at first they thought they were going to run back into the caves, so they were trying to cut them off from them. No, they stood out there in the middle of a mortar rounds falling all around them because they refused to go in those caves. They said there was something in them. They called them that was the home of the jinn. Like I said, yeah, them people are out there a little bit on their own anyway, in some of their beliefs, but that's their beliefs. But they believe in they're more they're what do you call it, a martyr if they die for their cause in battle or whatever. And like I said, they will take their own lives. But yeah, they stood in the middle of a mortar falling all around them like rain, and would refuse to go up in there. Uh, so there's stuff that lives in those caves. There used to be a guy that had a channel that told a story. I don't I don't remember his name or nothing else. I had to get with Lakea later. I don't even know if he still does a channel. He was an operator, from what I understand. He helped or did something with drones, and he was telling me and Lakea. I don't remember if you were on some of these back behind the stories talks, where they were watching drone footage of some Taliban guys on motorcycles going across the desert, and these things that looked like giant freaking Anubis dogs ran out and grabbed them off the freaking motorcycles in the middle of the desert.
Yes, yeah, I've actually seen that video. I know exactly what you're talking about.
No,
And it makes you wonder, I mean, weren't these things burrowing through the sand at the same time too? Or they would pop I mean, these guys are trying to take off on that little dirt bike?
Yeah, I think I can't remember if they just come up out of the sand or what. But you can tell this bike is just doing all it can do. It's got the two little Afghanis or Taliban, whatever they were on, and they're just hauling ass. Things run up beside them. They're sitting still, just reach and grab, clook, clook, right off the back, and just take off. If you can find, hold on, if you can find that video, send me a link to it. Because I don't have it no more. I used to have it. What is Mary talking about? Hold on one second. Is that better?
Yep, can hear you loud and clear.
I'm sorry. When I turned my mic down, I didn't get it back up all the way. Sorry about that.
I mean, let's face it, it's a weird world, man. I mean, it's for a lot of people, it's normal, mundane, happy life. You know, you get up, eat breakfast, go to work, come home, spend time with the family, go to bed, and repeat. And when you see something like a Sasquatch, or you see something, right? I mean, because you look at videos all day, whether they're, you know, true or not true, or crazy videos like that one, which definitely shows something odd. Unless you actually witness something like that yourself, whether it be paranormal or cryptid or whatever, that kind of opens a door for you, and then you start looking at the world in a different way.
Somebody asked for this just a minute ago, so I'm gonna go ahead and get it out of the way.
Oh, they wanted to laugh, huh?
Yeah, right. They wanted to laugh. I don't know why.
Well, it's a staple, man. It's a staple. A squeaky chair can go away, a Zippo can go away, but the laugh stays.
Hey, the Zippo's right here.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I misjudged.
And for y'all, the squeaky chair, I got one.
Nice.
I found where Lakay hit the bastard.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's so many different there's so many different myths and lore around the world, especially I believe is it Ireland that has a whole lot of the giants lore, with Jack the Beanstalk and all that kind of stuff like that. Those stories came from somewhere.
Well, as I have noticed, you can tell a true story, but you can put your own spin on it in a way. And you see that. You're going to see that. Which, to me, if we're doing it now in this day and age, then I can only imagine it's been done for as long as people have been telling stories. Just like you say, the telephone game. I mean, you can have the facts, but to really make it entertaining, sometimes you got to put stuff in there. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You know what I mean?
That's like Booger Valley that everybody likes. It's based on a true story, but things have been changed just to make it where I don't feel like I'm encroaching on anybody's privacy or nothing else. It's my story, most of it, and some of it was my grandfather's and my grandmother's and their neighbors and stuff like that. Like I said, I changed enough of the stuff that you can't just go look it up because, like I said, you got some people that just, oh my God, they get so endowed and enthralled or whatever you want to call it in this stuff, and they just go bonkers because there's a buddy of yours has a channel. Like I said, I'm not gonna say his name, that had a guy coming on, dude. They went after this dude like bears to honey. I'm talking about just for no freaking reason. Okay, if you don't like his story, don't listen to it. There's no reason to attack people.
Well, the reason why I say that is because the way that I view things is, of course, different from the next person. And some of the stuff that really kind of started to make sense to me was the fact that you can take little bits and pieces of information. Like, for instance, the Kandahar giant had 6 toes and 6 fingers. That's what they said.
Yeah.
Now, if you look back in the Sumerian tablets and the information in there, you're going to find that these giants, because they talk about giants quite regularly in that, it's like, this genetic history of how they finally came to making us type of thing, or how we came about, Homo sapiens sapien. That, maybe, just maybe, some of the stuff in these ancient texts may have a bit of truth in them. It's one of those things. Like for me, for instance, the Bible. I don't view the Bible as this religious type of thing that you should live by. I actually view it as a peeking into history, because let's face it, we don't actually have a whole lot of actual written history from that time period. So what we have is this right here, and you just have to read it and understand that, how people are trying to change your opinions now on certain subjects, the media. Well, they didn't have that back then. So the only thing that they had were people talking in the streets and written text for the time. Now, there's always going to be somebody who wants a measure of control. So if you can read an ancient text like that and you can kind of decipher, kind of take the control out of it, set this aside, and look at what's in front of you and understand how these people talked and how they communicated, then you're going to start to see things in a bit of a different light. I know I did anyway, so I guess at this point I can only really speak for myself. But there were a lot of talk about giants, and they called them Nephilim. All right. For me personally, because I know you don't like that name, but for me personally, that could have just been something they called them. Like how Bigfoot has a million different names, from not only just in this country, but all over the world itself and other countries.
Yep.
So, if you're looking at this a certain way, be like, okay, well, wait a minute. So if you listen to the Book of Enoch and it's talking about, Nephilim and Watchers and all this stuff, okay. These people would have viewed these beings as godlike, because let's face it, technology is magic. You know what I mean? You've said it before. If you took a Harley Davidson and you transplanted it in the time before the Civil War, people are going to look at this. What is this double magic? You know what I mean? They're going to think it's a magical thing, especially when it starts up. They're going to be like, whoa, dude.
Yeah. Well,
that's a hell of a steam engine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons why, like I said, I leave the religious thing alone. I tell that to people when I first start talking to them, because even like what you're saying now, you get some religious people that oh, it's blasphemy. You're not supposed to talk about the Bible like that. Well, that's why I don't talk about it. 2 things you won't hear talk about on here is religion and politics, because they both are in the same over here on the shelf. So,
well, that's also why I leaned heavily on the Sumerian tablets, because the stuff that they say in there is that basically giants came about. Now, this is what this says. I'm not saying this is truth. This is just for me trying to convey this is another side of a story. And if you take certain pieces out of that, it makes sense when you're talking about the Kandahar giant, because, okay, 6 digits on the hands and the feet. Well, these giants in these tablets had 6 digits on the hand and the feet. So okay, there's a similarity right there. They were of different sizes, different hair colors. They've talked about red-haired ones that were cannibalistic, Kandahar giant. They talked about other ones that were very large and peaceful. Now, here's the cool thing. You've got the deluge story, like the Noah's Ark story.
Yep.
So you've got that flood story. But that flood story is also in several other ancient texts that predate the Noah's Ark story. So you've got it in the Sumerian tablets, and you've got it in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which came, I think, just after or about the same time. I could be wrong on that. But so you get these texts that tell the same story. And the Anunnaki deluge story, flood story, is very similar to the Noah's Ark story, except for a few changes in the whole Noah thing. But the funny thing about that is that I actually had found a video, and then I went and read an article about it, that there was proof that there was a massive flood in that area that covered that whole area at one time, where there were a few survivors. People escaped. Now, if you're looking at a time frame where you've got stories of giants from that time period, and then sometime later you've got, say, like the Native American mythology side of things, where they're talking about giants, you know what I mean? Being in the Americas and finding these mounds right here in this country that have these big bones in them. So who's to say? Because they said, I'm sorry, I almost got off track, but they said that this flood happened. Now there's several different ways that they say that it actually happened, but just to get down to the brass tacks of it, this flood encompassed this whole area, but it didn't encompass the world. And there's evidence that suggests that a massive flood came through there around a certain time period. Who's to say that some of these giants or giant kin escaped, found their way to other places? I mean, because let's face it, I mean, if you're looking at the pyramids, and they're saying, and a lot of researchers are saying now that the pyramids are far older than what is originally, been said by the Egyptian government and by other researchers on the subject. Who's to say that if this flood story happened, that, ancient man had already really figured out how to, make boats and sail across oceans? I mean, we don't know. There's other than just a few clay tablets at certain time periods before and after, we don't have a whole lot of information. So who's to say that man wasn't very advanced at that time, or whatever else may have been here at the time was way more advanced even than we are now? So does that kind of sound like, if a big flood happens, and all of a sudden everybody scatters, you know what I mean? Does that kind of sound feasible, that maybe some of these very large beings could have made their way to our shores, and that's why we have them?
Well, I don't know how to answer that. Like I said, anything's a possibility, but my thing is this: going back to the Kandahar giants. All right, that was one encounter that got out that our U.S. troops had. What if there was others that didn't get out? Because
right,
they put a lid on this right here, and like I said, we don't know who all was there, who all wasn't. I know the area they were in. That when I say I know, this is what I heard. The area they were in, they kind of they bombarded the ever living crap out of it. When I say that, they bombarded it. They actually dropped the biggest bomb known to man, other than a nuclear bomb, the Moab, on that area. That's the only one they've ever dropped that they've ever used. It was used in that area. Why? What did they have there in that area that like I said, anybody that wants to know what a Moab is, the mother of all bombs, is right under the nuclear bomb. That's
it's just not nuclear. That's all.
Yeah. They've only ever deployed it one time in theater of war, That was it. That's the only one they dropped. Why did they drop that in that? That was in that same area. Why? Why only that one time? Why didn't they? If they were using it to get rid of cave systems, cave systems are all over freaking Afghanistan, along the border of Pakistan and stuff. Why didn't they drop more? If that was what they used to clear out the Taliban out of these, why not use more? They used it one time only, and that was it.
Well, there were stories that were coming out of that before they dropped that bomb, because they had sent U.S. troops and Allied troops into those mountains. And, they were going in, and there were a lot of stories coming out of there of some troops saying that as they were moving in, they're hearing yelling and shouting and gunfire. And all of a sudden, you've got all these, Taliban troops and Al Qaeda troops are come running out like they're fearing for their lives. You know what I mean? And of course, there are stories from the locals in there about not only about the jinn, but big people that live in those caves and those high mountains. That's why they don't go out there. So
that's always
they said that they dropped it because of embedded troops. If they're running out fearing for their lives, there's got to be something in there.
Yeah. Okay. Like I said, if that's the case, then why didn't they use it more often, or even after that? If it was, that's the reason why I was doing it. Like I said, that because they did clearings of caves all up and down the Pakistan-Afghanistan line, for a long time. Only once did they ever drop the Moab, and it just so happens to be in the same area of where the Kandahar giant story came out of. I told you, I don't coincidence things. I don't too much go off of. Once, maybe two, three, hell no. But like I said, if it was so good at clearing out these caves, why didn't they just drop a whole bunch of them down through there? Hey, look, y'all want to stay in these caves? We'll seal you in, because that's damn sure what this thing was doing. This thing, like I said, y'all just have to go look up what a Moab does when it goes off. Like I said, it's that bad that they only used it once, and it's only used for very. There was a reason why, because like I said, it just destroys everything for miles around, not within yards, miles. Y'all need to understand. Like I said, this is right under a nuclear explosion. The only thing that you don't get out of the Moab that you get out of the nuclear is the fallout, the radiation. You get everything else but the fallout and the radiation. So why? And this happened.
Go ahead.
This happened not too long after the Kandahar situation. So, put two and two together, it sounds like four to me.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the funny thing. I could be wrong, but I think I remember hearing a report that the way that they dropped it like in a mountain range in between a couple of very large mountains. And I guess it cracked them, like broke both of them, straight up, turned them into rubble almost. And,
it took out small mountain ranges. Like I said, because the way where it was dropped, yeah. Like I said, I think there's even a footage from a plane, and the plane actually caught some vibration from the blast. After you could see anybody ever seen a pebble get thrown into the water, the ripples that go across the water? This bomb is big enough. When that bomb went off, you could see the ripples go across the ground for miles out into the desert, like a pebble being dropped into the pond. Like I said, if it got rid of people, that were hurting other people, or Taliban, whatever you want to call it, up in the mountain ranges, why didn't they do that instead of sending in people to get killed, to get hurt, or whatever? If the people that's in there are that bad, why not do it more? Because they didn't stop using caves afterwards. They were still having to go up in the cave systems and clear caves and stuff out. It makes no sense to do it once because it didn't intimidate them. To me, it sounded like that was a last ditch resort to get rid of some reason that was unique to that area, and that just so happens to be in that same Kandahar range. What if they found more than one of these damn things up in the cave systems? Like, well, shit, we can't deal with this. It takes too much to take one down. We'll just wipe them out and we'll use this.
Did someone ask earlier why they would cover something like that up, or why they keep covering up?
I think they did. Hold on, somebody's trying to come in.
Okay, so I have a theory on that.
Whoever this is, you got to have a mic. I think it's Paul. Your guest will need to connect to a mic before you can. Yeah, you got to have a. It says you don't have a mic, Paul. I don't know what happened there, but on my end it says before I can let you in, you got to have a mic. I'm gonna kick it and let you try to come back in again. Hook a mic up or whatever and try to come back in, because it kept telling me I couldn't let you in because you didn't have a mic, or a mic was not recognized. I don't know. There you go. Like I said, there's a lot of weird things that go on, and like I said, I've even heard of stories along the border between the United States and Canada, where supposedly, there was stuff found. Hold on, another stream. There we go. Hey, Paul.
Hey, can you?
You're in now. For some reason, it kept telling me a while ago you didn't have a mic.
Yeah, it had me muted for some reason. I tried to unmute it and it wouldn't let me do it. And then I came out and then went back in and it let me do it. So
I think it's called, for some reason, it didn't recognize it was muted, didn't recognize it. And I had to actually kick you to let you come back in to start it back. I don't know. It's too technical. It worked. I choked myself again. You're in now.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good to be here. Hello, everyone.
Hey, buddy, how you doing? Good to hear you.
Sorry, hijack the stream again.
Paul? Do you know about them dropping the Moab over in Afghanistan?
Yeah. Was that not right? Sort of towards the start when they went in there that they did that.
No, it was.
I heard they were clearing. They were using them to drop on the cave systems, not to clear out the Afghans that were holed up in there. Of course, there could have been other things in there.
They only dropped one, and so that's what confused me. Is that if you're using it to clear out the cave systems, why wouldn't you drop more than one up through? The mountain range between Afghanistan and Pakistan, where they were hiding, it's like a honeycomb. They're just all up through there.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you more than one? Because, like I said, one did a whole lot of damage, but it didn't take out the whole thing.
Do you find it a bit odd how, when we talk about a lot of things that went on in our past, our history, the origins of man, etc., and even these giants, a lot of these places that have the answers, like Afghanistan, Iraq, all these places, well, the people that can go in and get those answers can't, because there's always war there. It's almost like it's been designed that way to happen, to keep the truth out.
Well, I told somebody one time, they asked me, how long do you think this war over in Afghanistan is going to last? My answer to that was, if you look at history, for some reason in that region, they've always been warring with somebody since somebody's been keeping track of time. For some reason in that, up through that region, I don't know why, but you got Pakistan, Kuwait, Afghanistan, they've been Syria, all of them have been warring with somebody, if not themselves, with each other since people have been keeping up with time. I don't know. Like you said, why? What keeps it? It's like you can't get into certain areas because there's an active war. It's a war zone. We're mad at this people.
Well, Chaos. You mentioned in the last show about the Anunnaki. So you might be familiar with Zachariah Sitchin and some of his work on the Sumerian tablets. And
yes,
he did a lot of deciphering of the language and what the tablets were saying. Now, he speaks about the Anunnaki in great detail because the Sumerians did. And it was interesting you mentioned Gilgamesh there. He was apparently one of the hybrids from the Anunnaki that bred with the humans.
Yeah, and he was very large from what
It was very, yeah, that's right.
historical accounts say.
And if you look at the Sumerian tablets, you'll see that whenever the Anunnaki are depicted, they're huge. They're way bigger than humans. Humans look like small infants compared to them. Now, he also goes on to say about like there was various starports around, around places like Israel. In Jerusalem, you've got the Temple Mount. Apparently, according to him, there's actually a starport there, and the mount was built around it to protect it. And the reason why there's so much war that's been lasting for thousands of years is because we're fighting over whoever controls that starport, i.e. for the Anunnaki's return, because they're supposed to be in some sort of elliptical orbit with us. You probably all heard of Nibiru, the planet they come from. That's in an elliptical orbit with the sun. And I think it's every 10,000 years that it comes by. So as the planet pulls away, their influence diminishes. And as it draws closer, they come back into our lives. We have to, and there's a cycle that repeats every 10,000 years or so. So the reason why we're fighting over the starport is because when they return, whoever's in control of that is going to be the first to greet them, to get the rewards, and all the rest of it. Yeah, but I mean, if you look at things like the pyramids and these megalithic structures around the world, we kind of marvel at how they were built and think, well, how could we lift those stones? Well, if you've got giants that are 36 feet tall, and that's some of these giants were able to be that tall, lifting 10-ton or even 100-ton rocks wouldn't actually be that hard, and it would explain how they quarried them, how they shaped them, because when you look at the actual age of the pyramids, like Egyptologists will tell you that they're 4,000 years old, but if you look at if you go back to Egypt 4,000 years ago, you'll see hieroglyphics everywhere. Okay, and these hieroglyphics talk about everything. They talk about their love life. They talk about the politics. They talk about everyday life. They talk about going hunting. They talk about man and woman arguing. Everything. There's all kinds of stuff in hieroglyphics, and not once does any of the hieroglyphics mention the pyramids or how they were built. When you go into the pyramids, now bear in mind they had to dynamite their way in there to begin with, okay, to actually get into them. There's never been a single hieroglyphic found in any of the Great Pyramids, and there's never been a single mummy found in any of the Great Pyramids. And yet, of course, the answer to that is, well, grave robbers were there and they stole the mummies. That's why you can't find any. So you dynamited your way in there to find that out, did you? And the grave robbers put everything back nice and neat, before you got there, just so that
Hey, I'll be right back. I'll go ahead. I run out of my coffee.
Oh, okay. You mustn't run out of coffee. Goodness, should be a beer or a glass of whiskey or a bourbon, if you ask me.
I can get on board with that.
Yeah, that way we can go way left. But yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if you had that manpower at your disposal, these giants, and the Bible is riddled with stories of giants. You've got Abraham. There was various giant races that were allied. There was various wars that were fought, giant against giant. And I agree 100% what you're saying, Chaos, about the Bible, about it being more like a historical text. I mean, we look at it as a moral guide. The Bible teaches us, like right from wrong. It teaches us about God and having faith in God. But it is a historical document as well, and you have to see that for what it is. You can, the Bible wasn't written by one person. The Bible is a collection of scrolls and documents of historical events put together in a Bible form to then go and preach the gospel to teach the word of God. Okay, and you can believe that if that's your faith. Great. It's the book for you. But you can also look in a different way, and that is that it tells about events that happened in the world and about people as well. And there's a lot of historical fact in the Bible about certain people who were alive on the earth, and I dare say giants would have been one of them.
Right. Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. I mean, you mentioned the pyramids in Egypt. It's funny that they've got this technology that they've been using on the pyramids, and they've actually found 3 more chambers in the pyramids, and that they haven't been able to break into. And if they have, they haven't said anything about us to it yet. And where you were talking about, grave robbers and all that stuff, who's to say that the ancient Egyptians didn't find something out, or somebody later didn't find something out, and they walled off these chambers? I mean, it's the way this structure is made. Everything is connected, and they're actually seeing where stuff has been walled off, where it's been filled in, that type of thing.
Well, answer me this: if there's nothing there now because of grave robbers before, why is it kept under lock and key and a guard?
Yeah.
Well, because it's Egypt Gate or Pyramid Gate, however it's been called, is the fact that the guy that's been in charge there for so long, who isn't in charge anymore. I believe the person that has taken over as his successor kind of still does things as the status quo, but there are a lot of secrets to a lot of different things, in these pyramids and in this area. Do you know who the researcher Robert Schoch is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Robert Schoch was the one. I don't know if you guys know. I imagine you do, but he was the one that had gone in with a team and had told people that yes, the Sphinx and the pyramids are much, much older, because we've got on all sides of the Sphinx, we've got evidence of water damage. To me, that might be like a dot connecting thing where it goes back to a flood story that covered that entire area. And they said that the Sphinx and the pyramids were almost totally underwater at one time. Who's to say that there's evidence of that flood myth right there?
Right. Well, there's a couple of things I want to say about that. I'm not sure if the pyramids and the Sphinx were ever underwater, but there is evidence to suggest that they were exposed to a lot of water. Okay. Now there's a couple of geologists that in recent times who came out and spoke out against the status quo story about the pyramids and the Sphinx. And what they did is they took a partial photograph of the Sphinx and they took it to other geologists and says, "What do you think's caused the erosion on this stone?" Now, bear in mind that they only got a portion of the photograph. They couldn't see the Sphinx in its entirety. And every one of them said, "Oh, that's water erosion." And they say, "Are you sure about that?" Yeah, no, it's definitely water erosion. Look, you can see that. Any geologist could tell you that, And then, of course, they then show them the bigger picture, and it's the Sphinx, and it's oh no, it couldn't be. No, it couldn't be. And we spoke about this. So we touched a wee bit on this in the last show, where there's like a bit of cover up going on. There's when there's industries created on like a history. People make a living from that. Like for example, Darwinism. There's institutions, there's universities, there's whole libraries set up and created that form an industry, and people's livelihood comes from that. And when you threaten that, they're going to react quite violently, in protection of that. And they'll call you a liar, they'll call you a blasphemer, they'll call you everything to discredit what you're saying, because it can't be true. Because if it's true, it means the history is wrong, and everything they've done, all their work is for nothing. And not only that, but it's like they're no longer a doctor or a professor in their field, because it's a load of crap, basically. So yeah, you've got like I say, you've got this cover up going on where amongst geologists, where they didn't want to talk about the Sphinx being subjected to all this rainfall, and it was rainfall that caused the erosion on the Sphinx. And the only time that there was a significant enough rainfall to cause that kind of erosion in Egypt, you have to go back over 10,000 years. Okay. And when you go back 10,000 years, you're back in the Stone Age, as our history tells us. The Stone Age lasted for millions of years, but it ended just under 10,000 years ago. But and then we found copper, etc., and then we went from there into various other industries, and the rest is history. But we were back in the what was Stone Age man doing, building pyramids and sphinxes?
Right.
So it can't be true. It can't be true. Okay. Darwin's safe. Everything's safe that we've been told, because we're just going to say it's not true.
Me and
Right?
Darwin like to argue a lot.
It's an inconvenient truth, all right? And
Yeah.
when you accept it as truth, all of a sudden, all these unexplained questions have answers. And it's up to you guys if you want to believe it or not. I choose to believe it. I think it's got the ring of truth in it. I think it's entirely plausible. But also,
what were you gonna say?
I was just going to say. Oh, sorry, go on, Paul.
When you start saying, "Oh no, it can't be true," that's a good way to get yourself proven wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't there. I have no idea. It sounds like a good plausibility to me, but like I said, there's so much stuff we don't know that too many people want to act like they do know. That I hit my shit. I touched something on my new mic and it went fucking haywire on me there for a minute.
Well, if you want to, what Paul was just saying, if you want to look at it in terms like this, the reason why they say, well, we'll use Bigfoot as an example. The reason why they keep it quiet and they say, no, that's just a myth. These people, they saw a bear. They don't know what they were looking at. What if one day on the 5 o'clock news, they come out and say, yes, Bigfoot is real. This creature, this hominid lives in these areas. Yes, they do. Okay. I think over the next couple of days, you're going to have record numbers of call outs of people who are just going to go in the woods to either want to see it or hunt it or anything like that. And, and who's going to listen to us telling you, yes, these creatures are dangerous. They can be very dangerous to you. They're not going to listen to us. We're a bunch of kooks as far as they're concerned, doing a radio show on YouTube. You know what I mean? They're going to listen to us, and that's where people are going to get hurt. And also the populations of these creatures are going to get hurt too. And of course, if you ain't at work and you ain't building the economy, you ain't making no money. And the people at the top don't want to make no money. They need you to get in there and work and produce shit so you can make their dollars.
If that happens, the two industries, well, let's see here. I can name off the industries that will just take off like nobody's tomorrow. You're going to have the gun industry take off. You're going to have the ammo industry take off. You're going to have the hospital. Everybody that's in the hospital is going to get really, really busy. Everybody that makes caskets and body bags.
Well, as well, the national parks would be booming too, because a lot of these sightings of these creatures are in national parks, places where they know are protected. You know what I mean? So I think it's one of those deals that, it's like the whole missing 411 thing, where all this stuff happens in national parks. If they come out and say, yeah, there's something really funny going on with the parks, that's why they want to keep covering up, nobody's going to want to go to the parks. So that giant chunk of that industry is literally going to tank. You know what I mean? They're not going to be able to survive, and then kind of stuff starts coming apart at the seams.
I got to looking into that some. You know why so many people go missing in the national parks? All right.
Why?
Where else do mainstream society, when they want to get out into the woods, where do they go? They're going to go
to the national parks.
Exactly. They don't go off into, because everywhere else is like where I'm at. Unless you have permission to be that, you have to have written permission on you. If you get caught on somebody else's without written permission, that is trespassing. That is a $10,000 fine and can be 1 year in jail. So
if you don't get shot.
Yeah, if you don't get shot. So they're going to have to go into the national forest. That's another reason why you got so many numbers and so many of those missing cases, because that's the only place they have to go out into the mainstream wilderness to get out into big bad woods. Like I said, to where I'm going tomorrow, it's 20 miles from the nearest major road. How much further can you get into the forest? Yes, there's houses and stuff around, but I want you to pull up a Google Earth of wherever, even a national forest. You've got buildings and stuff like that, or that are all over the place. That don't mean they're occupied, and that don't mean stuff is not there. But that's the reason why I got to looking at it. I was like, why do so many people go missing in these natural forests? What is it? It's because that's where the general population is able to get off into the deep, dark woods without getting in trouble or supposedly getting in trouble. But like I said, people don't realize, like I said, things can be cougars, regular animals that science knows that are there in the area of chaos that you go shooting in. It's not really what you call the big bad forest, but it is. But how many dangerous wildlife do you think are probably in that area?
That I've seen. I've only really ever seen deer in there, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. They're just better hiding from us. And when they start hearing, 9mm cap off, then. Yeah,
well, I'm here to tell you, if there's deer or prey animals, if there's enough prey animals around, there's a predator around somewhere. That's the whole thing. Like I said, you've got to have three things. I don't care, even humans. For a human to live somewhere, you got to have these three things. These are the main three things. You've got to have food, water, and eligible for shelter. If you don't have all three of those things, you're not going to stay there very long, or you're not going to survive. That's with any animal. I don't care if it's a Bigfoot down to a field mouse. You've got to have those three things. Those are three things. If somebody tells you there's a squatch in the area, get on Google Earth, like I showed y'all, pull up, see what the water source looks like around there. Okay. Then see what the wildlife, situation, because you can have some woods. That don't mean there's wildlife there, because if there's a whole lot of farming, a whole lot of people around, and the wildlife may be there, but it may be kind of scarce. But from what this guy's telling me about this place I'm going to, there's the abundance of predator. I mean, of prey for predators. So everything's stacking up. And then, like I said, we'll get back to that. I don't mean to get off what we're talking about now. But like I said, with giants, you need an area that people don't want to go in, so they're not readily, available. That if they still are alive, I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't really I've never found any sign of giants other than big ass squatches. That's a giant to me. But I can't tell you. But you're gonna have to, for it to live, you got to have food, water, and shelter. Well, our cave systems are a good source of shelter, and people don't realize. Yeah, the deserts and stuff like that out in Afghanistan, are real dry stuff. But those caves have underground rivers and streams and water sources in them that nobody ever hardly talks about. So he's living in a cave that gives him shelter. That cave more than likely has some kind of water source in it, because that's why he's there too. And apparently, he grabs whatever comes by that cave. That's anything from a rabbit to a human. So I don't think they're real particular.
No, and believe it or not, there are in those areas there are a lot of mountain goats. So I mean, there's a food source right there.
I think like part of maybe the scarcity of why we're not seeing them as much as, like, for example, when you read the Bible and things like that, they seem to be quite commonplace at one time. What you have to realize, you could look at, like, for example, Gigantopithecus, sorry, big pun, Gigantopithecus. Can't get my word. The reason why Gigantopithecus died out was because the climate changed drastically in where it lived, and its habitat changed because of it. And it was specialized in what it did, and what it ate, rather. And of course, when the climate changed and the habitat changed, it couldn't adapt, and it died out. And you could probably say the same for giants. At one time, like, for example, the Nile, the Valley of the Nile was a lush Eden once upon a time. I dare say various parts of the, Sumer, places like that would have been the same.
humans are really good at making other species extinct because look at, like we talked about in the last stream, the thylacine, which is the Tasmanian tiger. It not only went extinct once, but supposedly we made it go extinct twice. They think it has miraculously came back again, but it hasn't been proven like it did the second time. But not only, like I said, we not only annihilated it once, but we did it twice. That wasn't because of nothing else but human encroaching and humans bothering it.
Well, it used to be that in the last show we talked about primo niches, okay? Like your swamps and your deep dark forests, etc. Well, it used to be that 55% of the world was these niches, and 45% was the primo niches. The savannas, the grasslands, lightly wood areas, prairies. That's reversed now. It's 45% dark woods and swamps, and now it's 55% of grasslands and prairies. And
well, if anybody's interested in looking up giant stuff, I gave a link earlier in the comments. Go back, look at that link, click on it, because it's going to carry you down a rabbit hole. You make your mind up from there, because I can't do that for you. All I can give you is information. I hear music.
Yeah, sorry, that's me.
Carmen's got a TV on.
I was looking around trying to figure out what in the hell is Barry into now, and why the hell is playing clown music. I hate clowns. Yeah, you want to see somebody get hurt? Dress up like a clown. I don't care if you're 2 foot tall or 20 foot tall. You ain't gonna have a good day. I don't like clowns.
Yeah, I'm not fond of them myself, but
yeah. Like I said, anybody that's closed-minded, you're never going to be able to change, and you're never going to find nothing new. And if you're gullible, you're going to fall for a lot of stuff. Like I said, you have to go within things with a even mind. Could it or couldn't it be? Like I said, what I'm going into tomorrow, I'm going there, even though I've heard what I heard, I'm going there to try to prove it's everything but a squatch or something that ain't supposed to be there. Whatever the hell it was big and it was loud. That's all I can tell you. And it didn't sound like it was all too ass happy. So, for all I know, it was down there damn brushing its teeth in one of the damn creeks. That's why it sounded gurgly. I don't know. I've never heard that sound before. I'm telling you, I've never heard that sound. I don't think a human can make that sound, because I was sitting here trying to think a while ago, could I do that? Could I do a growl while gurgling? And no, I drowned. So, oh, like I said, I thought it was an interesting thing when me and Chaos was talking about it. Cause like I said, everybody wants to always know, well, where's the bones of Sasquatch? Okay. I have no idea what to tell you, but there are bones they have found of giants. So, and people still don't want to believe they exist. There's the damn bones you keep asking for. Now, I didn't grow them. I don't know how the hell they got that big. And there's giants to this day in modern society. Look at, there's a wrestler, Ugande, whatever the hell his name is. He's over 7 freaking tall. He's almost 8 foot tall. The giant from wrestling back years ago. Y'all realize how big that fellow was? What is his name? Ugande? Not Ugande. What was the guy that wrestled? His name was the giant. He wrestled with Hulk Hogan and all them. Back when I was
Andre the Giant.
Yes, Andre. That was a big fella. That was a really, really big fella. Most people that suffer from what they call giantificus disease, they don't live very long because their body don't support themselves. But like I said, we have modern day giants in society. Well, take something that's supposed to be really, really big now. Like I said, I think somebody put it in comments earlier. I think the Kandahar giant, they figured out that it was actually a teenager. It wasn't even a full grown one. So, like I said, and it was supposed to be, I'm not exactly sure, 12 to 15 foot tall.
Wow. That's just.
I believe it killed something. I don't know what the hell they killed, but it was too much of a hush that you can't find enough on it. And these guys, like I said, the link I put, this guy that does that did the interviews is probably the same one Chaos was talking about. He's really good at doing it, and he tracks stuff down, and he interviews some people that didn't even want their voices to be heard, so they camouflaged their voices, their appearance, and he got them to. Wasn't really easy to get them to coaxed out to tell the story. People's story lined up that didn't hear the other person's story. So the only way that happens is if it's true, or they got together way before then and said, okay, we need to make this story up and stick to it. And everybody was able to you know how hard it is for more than one person to keep up with a lie? Very hard. When you get more than two people involved in a lie, it's going to change somewhere down the road if you keep asking enough questions.
Well, I mean, there is a set of mounds in Ohio. I believe it's Ohio. I can't remember the name of it to save my own life. But they said that the surface area and the size of this mound is bigger than the Great Pyramid in Giza. And they had just started using ground penetrating radar to see what's underneath this thing because it only goes so far. And they're already seeing little blips, little areas, what look like burial chambers, or there are things, and they can't really tell what's in there. They just know that there's stuff buried on top of each other. But whereas the technology that they're using only goes down so far, who knows the size of this thing? Who knows what could be in there? Giant bones, artifacts that have been lost to time. I mean, you never know. I mean, they want to get in and they want to excavate, but there is opposition to it that does have enough power to halt them from doing something like that. So, I mean, if we could ever, and I don't want to disturb anybody's sacred burial ground. That's not what I would want personally. But, you know, if they can get in there and start looking at certain things, that would be really interesting to see what they have in there. But then again, if they never do, then hey, we can have fun speculating about it.
Well, what I'm waiting on is I don't know if anybody's ever heard of LiDAR radar. It's really new. I'm waiting for it to get mainstream where, you know, they can, any mojo can get it, put it on their little drone and fly it around, because I believe that is going to bring out a lot of stuff that people don't realize, because if there's something laying out there hiding in the woods, it will peel it back and you will be able to see it like it's, you know, it's there. There's no hiding. I don't care what kind of deep, dense brush it's in or whatever. It will bring it out. That's what I'm waiting on, is for LiDAR to get where the general mass population can get a hold of it, start putting it on these drones. Y'all, I believe some stuff is going to come out that's going to blow people's minds.
Well, you know what's funny is that we had talked about LiDAR before, and they are actually using it to test it out, but they were using it over the Amazon. And they're finding out that at one time there were basically because of all the people that had lived in the Amazon either fled or got disease and died when the Spaniards came in, the French came in, that, you know, they brought diseases these people had never seen before, had no defense of it. And it literally, the ones, you know, the very few that survived escaped. And there was nobody there to cut down the vines and keep the place. But they had said basically that the Amazon, by using this LiDAR, they had found that it was a massive, massive, giant civilization at one time. And, you know, that's of course, we haven't heard much out of it since, because there's probably something there that could, you know, lend truth to a history that we don't know about. So they're certainly not going to tell us about it.
You know, it's been back I know it's back, I think it was like back the first part of last year. I got contacted about this. They were actually LiDARing the backside of Mount St. Helens. Why? I have no idea. It was supposed to be because they were looking for a different vent, because they think it's getting ready to erupt again, or, you know, supposedly, or whatever. I believe that was the backstory. But the government come in and actually stopped them. They pulled the plug on that, because for some reason or another, you know, they didn't want that. They could do everything but LiDAR. I don't know why. I was curious to see why they didn't. Is it something back there we're not supposed to know about? I've been on the backside. Like I said, there's been some weird shit that's happened to me on the backside. So the shit that I can't explain, because there's no roads back there. If you want to know how vast and sparse it is, like I said, pull up Google Earth. Go to Mount St. Helens, look on the very backside of Mount St. Helens, back where all the explosions and shit like that happen, because you can really tell there's nothing there. Nothing. It's wilderness for several thousands of square acres. And they pulled the plug on a private company LiDAR in that. And I was always wondering why. What is it going to show that they don't want people to know?
Well, if you really want to get to the bottom of something, and no pun intended, but if you really want to get to the bottom of something, albeit history or an area that there isn't any written text, only spoken stories, where there's really not a whole lot of history, all you have to do is dig. And you're going to find things that will, sometimes you're going to find things that will blow your mind. I think that's why in a lot of ways, a lot of digs and archaeological sites or sites that could be archaeological sites are shut down, because you can manipulate and spin any story you want or any history that you want. But if you start digging down and you're finding stuff about certain things that weren't supposed to exist, or they're only fairy tales, what's that do to the system? You know what I mean? And I know the system doesn't want to change the system.
Well,
so I find that very interesting.
I don't know if y'all all watched this show called Mountain Monsters. It went off when it first come on up until I think the last year or so. It was going pretty hot and heavy on the trail of Bigfoot. And like I said, I know it's a TV show and stuff, but I know a couple of them guys that's on that show. I think you know that, Chaos, that I talked to them. I was trying to get a couple of them on our show. And because of different reasons why, that they've signed contracts and stuff, that really hasn't been able to happen, but they're making a season 7 right now.
Really?
Yes. The other season got shut down for some reason because they had came across or supposedly went into an area they wasn't supposed to go into, and a bunch of legal crap happened. Well, they're making a season 7 now, and they're supposed to go back to the way it originally was. And like I said, it's a lot of people like to make fun of them old boys, but they don't realize a lot of them boys, like Jeff, he actually has you can go pull him up and go to his website. Every Saturday, I think it is, he holds a group meeting at his local little area in this little, it's not a bar, it's like a restaurant that he holds a local group meeting every Saturday that anybody that wants to can show up to, and they talk about Bigfoot and all that. Those guys are actually Bigfooters. That's how they started out. Yes, I know it's a TV show and stuff now, but they started out in the Bigfoot community, hunting Bigfoot and stuff like that. And like I said, you got to take some of the stuff with a grain of salt because it is a TV show. But like I said, they are making it season 7, and I'm still working on trying to get a couple of them guys to come on. I'd love Jeff to come on because, like I said, he's a known researcher in the field way before the show even started.
Well, you know, that's the beautiful thing about these guys like Jeff and Huckleberry and all that stuff. These guys basically learned how you learned.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're not armchair researchers. These are guys that have lived in this area their entire lives and have learned from, the best people you could ever get, which would be family that have lived in that area for generations, dealing with stuff like this. So, I mean, yeah, that would be really cool just to be able to listen to him talk about some of his stories and experiences and how he goes about an investigation outside of a produced television show. Because I imagine this guy must be a wealth of information.
Oh, yeah, I've talked to him several times. He is. I don't know, like I said, all of them, and Jeff is pretty much like he is. That's the reason why you get off on him so well is if you go see him at that restaurant, he's going to be wearing overalls and everything else, just like he does. He's a good old country boy, grew up in the sticks, and he does have a good education and stuff background. But like I said, he's a good old boy. And like me, I just grew up in the woods and around stuff, and he had some interesting things happen to him as a kid that got him even more interested. I know a couple of the other guys. Jeff actually goes by that Jeff is his real name. I know 2 of the other guys, that's not their real names, but and I'm not going to say, but I'm not going to say which ones. But like I said, I've been trying to work on getting them. And Paul said something about the Alaskan monster people. I don't know none of them. I've reached out to them a couple times.
Oh, are you talking about that show that's on the Alaskan bush people?
No, Alaskan monsters.
Oh, I don't know. Have I ever seen? I don't know if I've seen that.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to one of the shows. It's kind of like that, except for there's an area called the Alaskan Triangle that
I've heard of that.
Has a lot of weird stuff. I've reached out a couple of times. I've never got any response back to them. They probably think I'm just a whack crazy fan or something. I don't know, but like I said, some of those guys I've been trying to get on because, yeah, they are in limelight, and they're out in the media, but a lot of those guys are just as down to earth as we are. And they're doing it, and they started doing it because they wanted to find out the truth, or they wanted to get more information out there.
Well, have you ever heard of that show, Alaskan Bush People?
Yep.
I would love to pick their brains in a private conversation about stuff that they may have seen or experienced that they're not going to put in the show, and they're not going to be readily wanting to talk to somebody, in that type of position, that type of, reality TV world type of thing. But this family lives literally in the sticks. Like, they prefer to live out in remote areas where nobody wants to be.
Well, there's another TV show that I know a bunch of people, and he actually went back and did a couple of shows specialized towards Bigfoot. The Survival Man. He had several incidents while he was out in the middle of nowhere doing some stuff and filming some of his shows where he had to run in with, he couldn't explain it no other way but a squatch. Then they did the Survival Man with Bigfoot, and he was turned from a to a believer. I don't know what made him a believer. I tried to contact him. I never got nothing back. Like I said, I tried to get some other people, some bigger people to come on here to talk to y'all. All we can do is ask. A lot of times they have agents and there's royalties involved and all kind of stuff like that, that it gets to be a bigger headache than what it's worth.
Right. Well, it's funny because I've actually seen videos of him filming the show. And, there's been actual video proof of something very large on two legs with a lot of hair running around behind him or being around him. You just don't see that stuff in the show. They're not going to put that in the show. But I have seen cuts of, I guess you could call deleted scenes where you would see that stuff. You know what I mean? People have broken it down and highlighted it. And it's mind blowing. I mean, because this guy literally does that. He goes out into places where humans don't go. And it's just him. He doesn't have a camera crew with him or anything like that. He's self-filming the entire thing. Yep. So it's pretty interesting. But then again, I guess he was embroiled in some controversy because, when I don't know if it was when he first started or it was toward the middle of the show, something of that nature, where he started having a camera crew come around and he wasn't being totally faithful in that sense. So, I mean, people kind of got on him on that, and he went back to his roots, and, the show was better for it in a lot of opinions. So.
Well, dude, I think we've had a good show. I know you're tired. Y'all, he stayed up really late for us tonight and got up really, really early for us. I think we're going to call it a night here. I've enjoyed it. I'm going to let you say whatever you want to close with, and we're going to get out of here.
Well, everybody, thanks for showing up, and good questions, and, good fun in the chat. So even though I didn't see it, but I did hear about it. But hey, much love to all you guys, and, we'll see you in the next video. And oh yeah, by the way, you never know what's lurking around that corner or that tree. Be careful.
And as always, sweet nightmares.